Incremental routines. Today I'm going to react to one of the videos of Terrance Wickman uploaded 11 years ago, and it's his thoughts about Supermemo and a slight comparison with Anki 2. 2.0, not 2.1, or now that the release name is based on the year and month of release. I only skimmed that video back in the day.
Alright.
Okay, so first, I'm assuming here he's a medical school student because that's a huge textbook, super long, 700 pages, pharmacology, first aid, goes there. Right off the bat, I know it's an older Supermemo, but he only has the element window. Okay, so about a year. Okay, about a year, and that goes 11 years ago. So he may have used Anki today for 12 years. Okay, about 3 less than I do.
So let's get started with Supermemo. When you first get it, it comes in this, it's in beginner mode, and you can
Okay.
see very little on the page. They actually won't look exactly like this, but it'll look very similar. And I wanted to be able to see what the hell I was doing, because I was trying to figure out what's going on in Supermemo when I'm working with it. I want to know where the files are going, or where they're being stored, the structure of the contents and stuff.
Hmm?
Otherwise, I feel very confused unless I know exactly what I'm clicking or what I'm clicking is doing. So here's the beginner mode. I believe this is on level beginner, right? There's not very many bars up here, or there's not very many drop-down menus or title menus.
It's still the same in last release of Supermemo, and I very strongly suggest you to switch it to professional after a few days of usage. Don't wait 6 months to turn this on, please.
Or whatever you want to call them. And there's not very many buttons. You add new and learn. And that's fine and dandy if you don't care about what's going on behind the scenes. I do, because it's important to me that I know what Supermemo is thinking about the files or the notes that I create. It's a little bit more transparent, and Anki is entirely untransparent if you want to know what it's thinking about each individual card. It's entirely transparent in that all the information that you can see fairly easily. In Supermemo, it's not that way.
Yeah, well, it's not that way if you use this level of UI. It is if you use the professional, you can see virtually everything. A lot more actually than in Anki. Okay, so here I have one random element that happens to be an item, a flashcard. So you can see all of the properties here. Look at the amount of information you have at every single flashcard. For those repetitions, you also know the difficulty, the stability and retrievability, the 3-component model of long-term memory at every single repetition. What you don't have is the time of the repetition, how seconds you invested. Other than that, it will be almost everything, and there's some other metrics for every single element. And you can even export these to Excel file and calculate whatever you want. Actually, a lot more than Anki Vanilla. And you can even know the expected next repetition according to the algorithm. Unlike Anki. But you get the point.
So anyways, I said, all right, well, I'm going to go ahead and go to warrior mode. So I click.
Okay, that's a common misconception. There's no warrior mode or warrior level. Warrior is a layout that uses the professional level. Let me go to the collection. It is still the same 11 years later. Level. You see you have beginner, basic, middle, professional. Then you have horizontal bar, a separation, and warrior layout. And if we read below the status bar, it says use the full professional level with an advanced warrior layout. That more or less we could say that is the Piotr Wozniak preference of the layout. That is the for him the default, yeah, at some sense. But it's a layout. So if you have the beginner and you click warrior layout, you will switch back to professional level and apply the layout. Keep that in mind. Warrior is a layout, not a level, even though it requires a professional level.
Warrior mode, and this is what comes up, and it's got a lot of good information about the cards.
That's more or less what I have shown to you with less color, and I think now you even have more data.
What about your note card, and it's got some good bars up here that you might use, or not, I don't even, what do you call them?
Yeah, now this is tabulated, just for the record. You have it here: learn, edit, read, compose, tools, and alarm. So you don't have this floating unlike before. But if you spend six months or more in Supermemo, it's likely that you will never use those, like compose. You will do this when you create a template, like very scarcely, or through the menus, so you don't rely on this. And you will just have to learn here. Because you can take a peek at the priority, the interval, the repetitions, retrievability, all of those stats super quickly. It's likely that you will end up just having this and never use those tabs, or very, very infrequently. Another thing I noticed, he says that he has been using Supermemo for 6 months, yet the collection it's just 23 days. So I'm assuming that he has more collections, and that is based by the name, first aid, in this case copy. So then I note he's using the built-in backup solution, but importantly, this collection is just for first aid. So perhaps he has a collection for subject, course, exam, this kind of thing.
We call the windows or something. Good windows up there, toolbars and crap like that you might want to use. And I like writing cards like this. The problem is this window here for editing cards is too small, and all this crap takes up the whole page. And when I'm going from this, my PDF that I'm taking most of my information from, to this, it's not very easy to copy one to the other.
Okay, in this case, what I will suggest is to make your own custom layout instead of using the warrior layout. And especially, at least in my opinion, there's no need to have so much space dedicated to stats at all times. Why you need to see the date, first date, the period, total amount of elements, and all of this permanently in your screen while you do your reps? There's no need to. There's only one, and it's the review. Where this? It would be here, review, just after outstanding. If you're doing a subset, final drill, neural review, the only place that is mentioned in Supermemo in the user interface, it's here, in the stats window. Oh, such a bad decision. And after outstanding, he has written, yeah, the order is slightly different. But yeah, the take-home message is that you only need one stat here. You can put it a lot. So what you can do, if you really do subsets and so on. Now start a subset. How do I know that? It's here in the review. So what I can do is and as small as this, and I can see it. And if I really, really want, I can make it even smaller and scroll and leave it there. That means that this space is wasted, and you could use it for and you could rearrange it so you have more space for text in the card.
But I still wanted to have the functionality with all these in here. I wanted to be able to go to these up here, and I wanted to be able to right click and get it to do whatever I want to do, which when you're in beginner mode, you cannot do. So
Again, it's based on the assumption that the warrior layout is a mode when it's not. So he never actually tried to customize the layout.
I left it in warrior mode, and to set this thing
Yes, my assumption was right. He has many backups of the same collection. He just adds the number.
up exactly how I wanted it, I go to
Yeah, so it's here. Window. Now you click layout, and in this menu you will be able to customize it.
Windows, or remove the dock, which puts it on here. That's way better. That's in one thing out of my way. I remove the background. That opens up the background. I left the hints on. Let's see, I got rid of the read toolbar. I got rid of the compose toolbar. And I don't even know what those are. And I don't even know what.
Exactly. He doesn't even know that. And it's precisely what he needed the most. It's exactly the same. He uses the warrior layout. Now in the layout manager, he can create more or rearrange it and then save as custom layout. And if you want to be the default, save it as default. So next time when you press Ctrl F5, you will apply that instead of the warrior.
Those are, but I got rid of these.
Such a pity. Because I'm assuming that heavily increased his friction using Supermemo.
Because I don't need. And then I said, all right, well, when I'm trying to make a car, what do I want the view to go to? I want it to look like this. I want to be able to drag it over here. And then I want it to pop back up like this.
In this case, done using two different layouts and cycle through those layouts. Let me quickly share this. So now let me see what they have this backup. That's from YouTube. Okay, that's the one. Now let's say I want, no, B, what is this? Good example. So with this, assuming I don't want the browser, it will be like this. So to the left, I will have the PDF file. So I can copy, go to the Supermemo and paste the content here. And when I'm done, Ctrl F5. And once I'm done, Ctrl F5. And that's the default. And I continue. Oh, I want this again. Bam. And you can get there with Alt W and then the number. In this case, it will be 6. Boom. Alt W, 7. And if I want default, Ctrl F5. Or F5 if I want a warrior. A lot better. A lot quicker.
So I made it like this, and I went to window, and I said, I moved this up here because I like it up there. It doesn't matter to me that it's blocking the close window button over there, but I actually prefer it up there because I like to do stuff down here sometimes. Went to window, and I clicked layout, save custom layout, or save as default, and I made it the simple warrior. So I have
Oh, so he's actually using layouts. Okay. So at least I know we can assume that he's confused. He still doesn't understand the difference between layouts and user interface levels.
all the functionality of your warrior mode without a bunch of crap in my face. So I select simple warrior, and here it goes. So now I can do this and this. I can come over here, edit.
By the way, that means the simple warrior is still using the professional level. It just happens that there are a lot less windows. It's not about the mode, it's about the layout.
And answer a question. So now I had this.
What is this? You had the coordinates of the mouse there?
setup that I wanted. But I still wasn't having the cards what I didn't want. I didn't want the layout of the cards. The simple layout that they gave me wasn't quite enough. So basically, I went to, let's see.
Based on his intonation, he's having friction with this, or he had friction that he's now sharing with us.
Here, tools. Ah, shit. No, I went to templates.
Wow. Still today, the default templates are more or less the same. And he added default item picture, occlusion image, and title picture. He added those.
Add template. No, I take that back. I started off with the default template here, and then I edited it to make it how I wanted it. I clicked on. So the way the Supermemo does things, if you click on here, you're going to get and it calls these things components. This is a component. This square is a component. This square is a component. If you click on a particular component, you are going to get a menu for that component. As you
the component menu, which will be different based on the component type. HTML component is not the same as image component. As you can see, he has reading and a bunch more options. HTML component, and here in the image, the options are different.
can see that right click is different than that right click.
Yeah, exactly.
Some things that bug me about this, I'll say right now, I cannot get the image. Well, it says it starts off at proportional. I don't want it to automatically add images proportionally. I want it to add them normally, so that it doesn't stretch it. The picture gets added in and it's default or like its standard format and size that I copied it from.
Okay, that is because if he's using a template, I don't have this information based on the screen. I cannot know that. But let's assume it is. Perhaps the template doesn't have this. What I mean, here the template it's proportional. You see I have a gray area. That's because the ratio of the component is not the same of the ratio of the image. So if I make this even wider, you see it doesn't scale back. I'm using my item template, and in this case it's proportional, and he wants normal. Normal means whatever is in the image. In this case, it's very high definition, so I will see the entire thing. And this is kind of problematic because it's like this example. It's very likely that it will be cropped. I cannot fit everything in the component. I may assume because most of the images he has are diagrams and this kind of thing, but that's actually not, it should not be the default setting you actually want. The question is, can you force this in Supermemo? To be honest, I don't know because I never tried, but I can do it now. So now it's set image stretch to normal. Now I will save template, and I will call it item. So I override my own. Nice. So then I go to the previous browser. Okay, and I get here. Nope. That's the stretch. The problem here that he's having is the stretch doesn't depend on the template. What depends if its answer is checked and all of the size and all of this, but the actual stretch is not. So he will need to do Ctrl-Shift-Q every single item he creates. But usually, if you use incremental reading, you won't want that at all. Let me see if he has some examples. To be honest, I would like 3 minutes. I skimmed this video, so I had no idea of all of this is genuine.
Also another thing. So, anyways, well, that's one complaint I have.
So yes, it defaults, conclusion, it defaults to proportional. And in my opinion, it's what you want. I'm intrigued to see some examples of him.
So you want to add a component. You can right click down here, and you get can't remember the name of the menu, element menu, I think, and you right click down here, or on a blank space.
Okay, to be precise, you can right click any place. That is not a component. So now I have all of those squares. So as long as I press outside, like here, it will work. Or here. That's guaranteed. Where you have the collection, the name of the collection, that's guaranteed that it will work because no component can be up there. So the safe bet, if you're really cramming all of the space, you want to maximize all of the space and so on, it will be really hard to click on the name. Easy. Let's continue.
And you go to components, and you go to editing.
Okay, a lot of clicking. Control E. You cycle through this. It's actually what I did 10 seconds ago.
And I think I can't. There's so much crap in here. I wish I could tell you. I added components somehow, and I actually think it's easier if you have the component menu open.
Yeah, you can do it through the menu. Yes. In modern Supermemo, it's almost the same thing. You just need to go to compose. It will be this menu. What he has populate a window that is a toolbar that it's floating there. Or you can even do it like this. There's one menu, edit, add components as well. This is redundant. It's being added. It's not comprehensive. It's just a small selection. You can even delete components here and choose. Cool. One example that Supermemo is not user experience has a huge room of improvement.
So
yeah, it's not here.
This is a reason why people complain about Supermemos, because there's so much crap on here that I can't ever remember what I did. But I think I actually went to here and add the toolbars.
It's in, yeah, that will be the compose menu. Or the other option is edit, the second option in the menu.
Compose? Yes, compose.
But what I suggest is to never actually do this. Rely on templates. Unless you have an item that is very special, that I am only required this layout or have more than one text component or something like that, there's no need to.
And then here you can add in components to your template. And so I added a
components to your template. No, that will be wrong. Components to your element. As soon as you add a component, it will be almost guaranteed that that element will become a template. Let me show this to you. I just did it by accident before when editing this image is no template, but let me show one example. It says item. In my case, my item template has 2 text components and 2 image components. Forget about the order and all of that. If now I want to edit an HTML component, and I put it here, it's not template. This is only affecting this very same element, not the template, as he said. If I want to affect the template, I will right click, template, save as template, and put the exact same name of the template I want to overwrite, item, and from now on, I won't do it. From now on, all of the elements using this template will also have that. That's why in Supermemo at the beginning it's kind of frustrating, Because if you don't understand those nuances and counterintuitiveness nature of some decisions and design, you're not conscious what you're doing, and this will lead the oh, what is this? That doesn't make sense. I experienced the same.
Picture, an image component, and that's what this is here. And I added two HTML.
In case of the image component, usually will be by Control F8. What I did before, so one random. So here you have, let's say that I select more than one. In this case, my template has two. So if I select three images, more than the ones I have, here you go. Supermemo already rearranges those, and I have three. And the element is no template. Remember this. And now I have three image components. It's very unlikely you will manually add a component, an image component with this, unless you are creating a template. That is not the case. That he's not in the same in the context he is in.
Components, one here and one here. I sized them how I wanted to, and then I saved them as a template. And the template you will see, you can go to search, templates, and you'll see that I have called this
The template registry.
default item picture, I think.
Well, that's actually the preview, but everything is blank. So he will need to increase the size, maximize the window of the template registry, and he will have to preview. Even though with the element data, you will know that. As I realized before, it's here. In other super memos, it's a lot less attractive. It's more plain interface, but this information it's there.
Yeah. And let me just make sure that's what it is. Apply a template. By the way, changing the template, you can right click, go to template, apply a template, and I'm choosing item picture. Except, okay, so it's just called item picture. I saved it as item picture because in every single, I don't want to have to go change the template every time I want to add a picture.
Yep, and that's the reason I have two image components for my templates. So I don't require no, I have the article and the article picture. No, I have the item and the item picture. I don't do this. Is my item, I already have pictures, no need to switch between those two anytime.
To my notes. I use pictures quite frequently to help me get answers which I don't know the answer to. And you can see I even type in hints here, which I remove later on once I feel like I can remember the hint even. So I start off with this next to here.
Okay, this practice is not the best for free learning, incremental reading, and then all of this, but makes sense because he's using this for medical school. So there's no other way. I will do the same.
And I can type in the question and the answer fairly easily. I also can put in a picture if I like. And that was the template that I wanted to use for making simple question answer cards. And now this wasn't enough for me to do the two card types which I like to use. I will actually say I prefer to do closed cards, but in Supermemo, you cannot add an item as a close. If somebody can figure out how to do this, I would love to, because I actually like to use close more than I like to use question answer.
Okay. That's because he's using a PDF, external PDF file. So, and relies on copy pasting. So, yes, you can do close deletion types if you have a topic and you make the close deletion on the topic, which is the basics of Supermemo. Incremental reading, sorry. So here I have, let's say I want to close this, Control I Alt Z, and that's it. But yeah, if I copy paste, yeah, you have to copy paste. Let's say it's a brand new item. And I, well, for the sake of the example, let me actually have the sentence. So that's the sentence. I copy and paste that. Now I have to delete this and manually do the close deletion. It's a valid option, I guess, but I will just copy and paste to a topic and then make the close deletion even if it's dummy. So you do the copy and paste. So imagine this is blank. I paste the clipboard. Right away I make the close deletion and right away I apply done. It's what I would do. Because then I have the relationship of parent and child. I know the sources to this element, even if I move it any other part of the knowledge tree, I can still know from where it is, from the parent, the source that this was extracted from.
formats. Anyways, so I have, I will add a template. I'll show you my other template. I made a template called occlusion. So it comes with occlusion, which is this. And it comes with this big red mark on here. And you put a picture in, you have a question.
2024. Don't. My recommendation: don't bother. Don't try image occlusion in Supermemo. Way too limited, way too manual, not feature proof. You have to do a lot of things manually, or once you change the resolution, it will be messed up. You have the image occlusion editor, an add-on from Alexis, which is already an improvement. Uses the same third-party tool that the image occlusion add-on from Anki, from Rutanimate. But now, in 2024, now this is built in, native in Anki. My suggestion, don't do it. Isn't worth it. If it's just a few here and there, something that came up with incremental reading, okay. But if you're a medicine student with anatomy or neuroscience with the brain anatomy or whatever, you rely on making a lot of image occlusions, no, it will create a huge friction. It's not future proof, and you will have spent more time. Not worth it.
And then an answer. Usually bigger. And red square is too. Use the acceptance. I guess that's just because it was already on here. Anyways, my square is usually about that big. And I'm going to click this, go to edit, and then escape. Citric acid cycle. Ask questions. Edit. Come in. And I don't know that I'm working on it. What's going on for my own health.
Finally, the first time I see the knowledge tree. Yes, exactly. So he's not using incremental reading at all. He just creates. It's a flow very similar to Anki. He has the folders, subfolders like decks and subdecks, and he only creates elements. What is blah blah blah. If you're going with this flow, I will suggest to use Anki, especially now, 11 years later. Anki has improved dramatically. And the difference with the algorithm is not that big now. So if you don't use incremental reading, for me, to my honest opinion, don't use Supermemo. It will create a lot more friction. But instead of this advice, what I will generally say is no. Use Supermemo, but do incremental reading. Import this PDF and read incrementally. Do the extracts. Use priorities and the close deletions instead of just copy pasting from an external file. That's my genuine suggestion. But if you really want this flow, don't use Supermemo.
I don't know. So I understand what's going on here. I have it organized into, I guess Supermemo calls these categories.
Oh, category. It's not categories. I was stressing that. Okay. Yes, and those categories are now called concepts. So you can use the hooks and so on. For what I see, he just uses folders. He's neglecting the categories.
So this is the book that I'm working out of, the first aid for the USMLE Step 1. Here are the different sections in the book.
something I realized in Supermemo, at least starting from Supermemo 18 and 19, and even 15, I could say, the root element has to be a concept. If you manually, let me actually show that to you. So my root element is called root, and it's a concept. So I can actually force that. No, I want to be a topic. Cannot delete the concept associated with the root element. Still, do you see now it's a T? That looks like a topic. But I think when you run collection repair, something like that, you will have the concept once again. It recreates the concept. And now you have this bug that changes the theme.
And then within the sections, I have other sections. And then I finally have items or elements, item elements. So you can do this, and the easiest way I found, somebody please correct me if I'm wrong, is to right click this, click new, click insert element, or excuse me, category, create category. And that's going to come up with this. Now whatever one
My mistake. Okay, I never use categories. So they didn't have the icon of in the knowledge tree. Okay.
highlighted here is the level that it will be added on. I don't know why it does this. I figure I should be able to click something and it's going to add it into as a subcategory of that. It doesn't. It adds it at this level. So if I want to put this new one in immunology,
It's what in today's Supermemo is called the concept hook.
I click this lymphoid structures, which is the level within immunology. And because I want it to appear at this level, I click next. I type in what I want it to be,
The concept name.
immunity. And then I click next. And this is where you put in your default. When I press Alt A,
Yeah, that is. It looks different, but in reality, it's a lot more similar than you may think. The template for items, for topics, the hook branch, root element. He selected the how it was called, immunology. So lymphoid structures. That will be the hook. The name is immunology, and the two templates, item and article picture. Okay.
but here you have it. Here's the category, which is the new category. So then I want to add a new item to this.
It's like concepts, but slightly less. Back in the day, they were not as functional as today. So the concepts are the evolution of categories.
I click new. I click item. This
What happens? Look at the color. This pale blue or cyan color means pending element. This is not in the priority queue. It's very old school. In incremental reading, you will never experience that. This will only be true if you import from a file, from XML. So you generated the items like that.
This automatically adds a sub item to immunity. The problem here is I don't. So let me show you what this looks like. I already set the default item here, and it's not the default item.
Yes, and this bug was present 11 years ago and still hasn't been fixed. Let me show this. I create a close solution. And look, why it's an item? Because in this case, the concept is root. And if I go to the registry, my root concept auto applies. That is, it's here, it's check. Auto apply item template, which is item. But if I create like this, new, an item, or add ceiling, or I forgot what he put, but let's do this. How come it looks like this, the default, or it looks the same as the classic template, which is built in. Even if you have deleted, it will appear like that. Why? Because it says no template. Has no template applied. That is a bug, and it says no group. So when you do it manually, it doesn't have the active concept, in this case the root. If it will be the case, among other things, the template will be auto-applied. So this is what is happening actually. And as easy as applying the template, we'll fix this.
So I have a question and an answer. Oh, escape. Type in an answer. Escape. And then I click Alt A. And here comes what I do.
Alt A. Let's see what happens. In this case, why it went there? Huh. Yes, because in this case has used the concept hook. Why the concept hook in this case is root? Because the concept has been set. Root. And why it now has that template? Because has the concept, therefore the concept auto applies the template. It looks like this because it's in this mode. You can cycle through this mode. Control E, now it's drag and drop, and now finally it's presentation mode. Because I don't have text, it looks empty. And it's like this. I will do it again. Alt N always looks like this. Control E, presentation mode.
Exactly I want to have happen. A new item with the default item format or template that I made. For the life of me, I can't figure out why it does it the other way, but I just deal with it because it's not that big a deal. And to have
It's sad that he is tolerating this friction when he's with this detail that the concept was not applied. That's why now, 4 years later with Supermemo, I experience a lot less friction, and my workflow is actually less sophisticated, we could say, more simple. But that's because I know what I'm doing. The limitations, the pros and cons, and all of that. That's not his case. And he's tolerating the friction. I can know this guy has a lot of patience. Well, if you're a medical student, you already have patience. But I could guess, making the assumption that if he invested 6 months and continues to use Supermemo with all of this friction, every single day with this, creating items, but the point is that, bro, this can be easily prevented if you use, you create the items with Alt Z, for instance, and you copy paste from a topic.
one of those per category is fine with me. And then I'll hit escape here, and you'll see that. So say like I want to do this for this category. Now I've reached a new category. Go to contents, and I want to add something new to immunology, and I'm going to add, I added these. So I just do the same thing, click here, right click, go to category, create, and I make it. There are ways, and the reason why I prefer Supermemo for long-term studying, which is why I'm using it now, because my test isn't for another year and a half or so.
Ding, ding, ding. He's using Supermemo for medical school and for the exams. So what he will do will be very skewed towards this goal. And at the very least, it's not an exam every 2 weeks, like the first year of medical school, or every month. At least he has a year and something. It's kind of incrementally friendly, even though it's too tight in time. There's too much to cover with so little time. A year and a half is not enough.
If something goes wrong or I do something wrong in Supermemo, I can fix it. In Anki, you cannot fix anything. If I exit, and the reason I had this happen is I opened up Anki one day, and I use Anki for my day-to-day studying from test to test, which occurs maybe once every 2 weeks or 3
Once every 2 weeks, exactly, yeah, exactly.
weeks or something. I have an exam, and I use it for that. I have thousands, and I have 20,000 cards. I probably have 30,000 cards on Anki. Not right here, as you can see, but I've removed them from it and I have them set. But I had a problem one day. I went to tools, or I saw up here and I said, oh, wow, I have a ton of these due. Why is every single one of my cards due? And then I went to tools. I was trying to figure out my preferences, and I saw the next day start set, and it had to switch to 13 hours or 16 hours or something after midnight. I saw one like this. I go, God, how am I gonna do 2,000 cards in one day? So I just had to burn through them and do as much as I could. I couldn't do them all. I just
Yeah, the grind, the Anki grind of the medical student. You don't have to. Even if you have 2,000 cards due today, you can leave some outstanding or due. You don't have to complete the zero every single day. And why, back in the day, 11 years ago, why this happens? Because Anki was using a version of SM2. Even if there's two in the name, it was the first algorithm with a computer. So basically, that was released in 1987, when I was born. It's been a long while. So long story short, the intervals, especially the first intervals of repetitions, they were really, really short. And there are no priorities. So if you do this, you have 2,000. You cannot start with what is most important, all of that. You do a lot more repetitions. Not the same today with FSRS, but still the same problem. If you have too many, the order you will see those cannot be for importance because there are no priorities.
had to deal with it. Now in Supermemo, if something like that happens, I can go through and fix it. I can edit each card individually. I can change I can say skip the last date or skip the next date or, start it on this date or change anything I want for it. So, or I could have reverted back to another time. And you say I could have done that in Anki. I could have, but I had added cards that day and I had not saved it entirely, which might be my own fault. And by the way, I'm so scared working with Supermemo that I have decided every time I finish doing working a session with Supermemo, I click File and I click Copy Collection.
Okay, good practice. In SuperMemo, most of the functions, features cannot be undone, and you could get any weird bug or discover you had a bug, and you realize some days, weeks, or months later, whatever that may be. Yes, I suggest to use a backup every single day for SuperMemo, but not with this. In this case, he's using just manually creating items, not a big deal. He doesn't have articles, but if you do, the size of the collection will increase very quickly, and it's just creating a new copy every single time. So imagine if I have 50,000 files, it copies 50,000 files over again. I very strongly suggest Git backup solution. You can get it for free. And even it's on your system, on your device, and to the cloud. And you will reverse to any point in time. This is the best option.
And I have a copy of it. And for some reason, I click Prepare Collection. So actually, every time I quit Supermemo, I copy the collection, save a copy, repair the collection, repair, and then copy the collection again. So I have one before and after the repair every time I stop Supermemo. And I delete.
Perhaps this is too much. So what you do agree is to back up before you do repair collection, because this could trigger some bugs. Just to name one that breaks your collection is as simple as that. Control F12, and you do whatever, let's say detailed, and you uncheck the basics, the basic checkup. This will create a bug that you will duplicate all of your concepts. It will be messed up, and you cannot undo that. So the best solution is to recover from a backup. So it's safe that, you know what, that's the rule of thumb. Before you do any function that it's performed in bulk, in many elements, or your entire collection, backup. Especially if you have invested some hours today, backup and then perform this. What's not required is to backup just right after the repair, or to repair every single day. That's way too much. It's excessive.
Delete the old ones over time. Uh, I don't know if that works, if that does good. It hasn't. It has not failed me yet. So I continue to. Maybe I'm a little paranoid, but I've heard problems with Supermemo, which I haven't had any, and I really enjoy this structure.
If you enjoy it, that's the rule number one. Has to be enjoyable, pleasurable for you.
This category structure that I can do. It allows me to study what I want to study whenever I want to. Um, another problem that I have is this one so I'll add a new one. I'll click add a new item, and you'll see that this is a light blue color.
I mentioned that before in the video. Pending queue, unlike the blue icon, that is memorized, therefore it appears to queue.
So I add this item in here, and if I want to go study this, which I do, I'll go to learn, and you see
New material, the pending queue.
how there's new material here? That means that it has not entered the learning process yet, or the
Yep.
memorization process. I want it to be in the memorization process every time I add a new item, or not.
Then don't add new item like this with right clicking because it will happen like that. It won't be fixed. It's been like that for more than a decade. The Supermemo, the Piotr Wozniak or whoever, is not going to fix that.
Not be in the learning process every time I add a new item. As you can see, this one, which I added with Control A or Alt A, is in the learning is in the memorization.
It's a trade-off. What do you want? To have the template auto-applied, but not be memorized, or to be memorized with no template. So in one case, you need Control M and Control M to memorize it, or the other one, ironically, Control Shift M, just adding the shift to apply the template.
Process. I don't understand what's going on here. Somebody explain it to me and tell me how to get around this, how to add it.
I think I'm too late to explain that to you. My hunch would be that you no longer use Supermemo. But just in case you see this video, please let me know. That's already a thing. And second, if you still use Supermemo, that will be awesome, especially if you use incremental reading. But I don't know. My best guess, you graduated from medical school. Now you are still busy and you have moved on. You don't need to cram for exams.
A new one here. I can't click Alt A here and have it come up with a new one for this category unless I've already added one, which I have to do by doing right-click New Item. Somebody please tell me how to do all this stuff, and I will be immensely more happy with Supermemo.
So it's funny because I realized that I only watched like 3 minutes of this video, or something like that, back in the day. And my impression was that he was comparing Supermemo, the flow, against Anki. But I see that he's actually more questions than anything else. And explaining his friction and all of this. Rather than, hey, that's how you do it. In Anki, that's how you do it. Supermemo, and that's how you both compare. Which, by the way, that's something I did at the very beginning. I also did this kind of videos that should. I did my session, which is raw video, was uploaded. Now I do the like a recap, and those were the friction points or the findings. And those are my questions that I have no clue how to do this, that, and that. I experienced the same. But since I was so hooked with Supermemo, and I invested so much time, so almost every day, I learned I did all of the mistakes a lot quicker, not 6 months in. But the rule of thumb is pleasurable. It's not about to learn how to use the tool, all of the advanced features. My suggestion, prioritize friction. Learn what is required for lowering, minimizing your friction. If templates doesn't add any friction, this can wait for you. Perhaps for someone else, that will be day 2 friction or day 1 friction. Yeah, I think you got my point.
That being said, I've got 300 and something, probably 500 cards on Supermemo. and I've been studying
500, according to here, 250, half. Perhaps, perhaps he has more collections. I don't know.
for, like I said, 6 months, and I just feel like it helps me memorize it better than Anki does. Anki is great for short-term memorization. I'm telling you, once I get out,
Yes, especially true. If you're in the school system, special medical school, that you have both very short-term exams and let's say medium term, like 3 months, 6 months, or stuff like that, or in this case, a year and a half or something that is like MCAT, I think it's called in America or something like that. Yes. In Anki, why it's better for short term? Because of the algorithm, especially 11 years ago. The intervals were very short. You needed a lot of repetitions. So this is more friendly for cramming. And in Supermemo, by default, aims at the very long term. So it will be, let's say, too late. You will forget it, sit again, and it's the exam date already. It's optimizing for doing less repetitions, which is true. You do a lot less repetitions compared to Anki. Let's say in the next 30 years or 10 years. It's optimized to the long term. Even now with FSRS, this holds true. It's not that big of a difference, but it's the exact same thing. FSRS is not optimized for the long term because there's no data. There are no users who used FSRS for that long. It hasn't been out for that long. And even that, for the users who used the default algorithm and they donated their data, their collections are not old enough to have intervals in the multi-years.
2 weeks or 15 days or 13 days or whatever on Anki, I start to not remember crap. For some reason, it just, in Supermemo, I feel like I just trust and I don't have any scientific basis behind this. I just feel
Yeah, no scientific basis, it's just anecdotal evidence. But we could simplify that it's the timing. So it's best, the algorithm. I don't know what version he's using. So let's say it's SM, not even 15, but an older version. Let's say it's SM15. So it's not advanced as the SM18. The versions of the algorithms, not the version of the releases. So it's better estimating when you're about to forget it. Since this date that is set, it's closer to when you actually need it. It creates the effect. When you're about to forget something and you recall it, it becomes stronger than if you recall it when you are not required. If you will do the same those cards every single day or a fixed interval of 10 days for many years, the recall won't be better.
like it works better for long-term memorization. And that's why I chose to do it for my test that I have in a year and a half. Um, if I had to pick one of these, Anki or Supermemo, that I had to use forever, I would pick Supermemo. All right, it depends on what you're doing. If you want to study for the test in 2 weeks, you need Anki. Supermemo it's not meant the way the logarithm works. You're not gonna be able to do it that quick. It just doesn't work that way. I haven't been able to do it that quick. I'm sure you can set it up to where you can do it that quick. I'm not that.
Yes, you can force the algorithm to override it. Basically, you have to fight the algorithm. So, because Supermemo is designed for anti-cramming tool, and you want to cram. So yes, you're gonna still do it, but it's designed to prevent the user to cram.
Advanced with it. I wanted to be able to do it right out the bat and have it done and be ready to go. And Supermemo makes you do that with the several tries that you get before you can enter it into the learning process. And with Supermemo, it automatically enters it in. And then the second time you see the card will be in a day or two.
Ah, good thing. What happens in Supermemo is that when you create the item, that's the first repetition. Unlike Anki, that when you create the flashcard, it's due. It's into I don't know what it is, and you could see it the same day, next day, or next year, depending on the amount of backlog you have. It makes sense that when you create the element, because you have created that yourself, you did the thought process, this is the first repetition. So you have the interval based on that. And what he said about a few days, that depends. Depends on what? Among other things, if you use close deletion, it will depend on the priority of the element. As easy as that. I have a video about this, how it may affect. And if you use the pending queue, I think it will be this. It will be using the optimum interval, which is capped at 33 days. That's the maximum you can get. And the lowest is 1. Even if you have less, 0 point something, I have seen some users who have 0 point something, is 1. Because in Supermemo, the minimum interval is 1 day. Unless you force it, which you could do. You could override that. Unlike Anki, that it's known that the default settings, it's 10 minutes. And perhaps some users even said something even smaller than 10 minutes.
Whereas with Anki, you see it 3 times. First day, once the next day, then 3 days, and then
more or less. Using the default settings, yes. It will be 2.5 times the previous one. The previous one, when it's graduated, will be 1 day. So yes, it will be 3, rounding up. And there's some fuzziness, so it could be that some cards are 1 day more. But yeah, most of the time, every single card in the old Anki scheduler is treated exactly the same. Doesn't take into account anything you do in the collection, the priority, because there are no priorities at all. And the version of the algorithm that is from the 1987.
6, then
Which,
5.
by the way, I'm not saying that because it's old, it's lower performant. No, I'm saying that it was the first version and it's based on a lot more assumptions, and in that case, doesn't have any data from the collection. It's agnostic of what you have done before, what you will do next, or what you have done already. It will read the same thing.
5 days or 4 days or whatever happens after that. If anybody has any questions, and once I finish making this, I'm outlining the entire book of whole book for at the end of the summer, and I will be posting those so that everyone can use it. And it's basically the whole book, not a single detail left out. Because
No single detail left out. That's actually not a good thing. You may think, oh, that's the best deal you can get. Nope. You don't want to memorize every single detail possible and so on. It's not... Unless you really care and it's pleasurable to do, go ahead and do it. But if it's, oh, no, I want because I have to know every single detail of every single page of the book for completeness, that's not worth it. And it's not even better, because you will be spending time on memorizing very fine details that later on won't be that useful, or they will converge based on knowledge crystallization.
it's my future, and I need to memorize everything. But anyways, there you have it. There's a it's not even quick, a long overview of Supermemo and some
Long overview? This is short for me.
comparison
And this video is already longer than that anyways, so imagine that.
with Anki. If you have any questions or you have any information for me, please let me know. Wait, one other thing. I will tell you, it's not the most, it is complicated because you can do a ton of things with it. Let me show you what this is when Flash looks like.
What is this?
This is, when I open up WinFlash, this is what I get. And let's say I want to add
another proprietary app for flashcards.
Jesus. I want to create a new, that's what I meant. Editing is similarly, that'd be available to use fields. to work with it too much, but basically what this does is
Open
it applies
cards.
spaced repetition to PowerPoints. And if you just want to memorize everything on a
Yes, you can do this with Supermemo, even with the version he's using. He could do that as well. So you have a topic that just links to this has a component, an OME component that will open this in this case this PowerPoint every single repetition. He's using third-party tools or other apps when he can do the same thing in Supermemo at the same time.
PowerPoint,
And much better.
which sometimes I way to go. But look at this. This takes the title of a PowerPoint and the answers and the rest of the PowerPoint and puts it on a flashcard for you.
Okay. So it's more than I thought, and it's a big no-no. So why do you want what is goes in similarity domain as a question, and all of that as an answer? This is crap, absolute crap. Could be useful for 2 weeks, yes, absolutely. If you have an exam, 2 weeks, and the lifespan of this flashcard will be only those 2 weeks, and then you will delete it. Okay, do this shit, flashcard, because you have this artificial constriction of 2 weeks deadline to get this knowledge. But if it's a year and a half, or because you want, so it will be for life, please don't. This is trash. And in some years, you won't be able to answer any flashcard you have.
That could be very advantageous and save you lots of time if your teacher.
Lots of time creating the elements, the flashcards? Yes. At the expense that long term you will spend a lot more time trying to answer, trying to reformulate this, and so on. And do more repetitions because you will lapse that. So don't measure this. The heuristic should not be how much time do I invest creating the flashcard at the very beginning versus the what I get. No, is the time you will invest in its lifetime. Perhaps I invest 2 minutes creating the. Let's do some example. 2 minutes creating the flashcard, but then the repetitions will be more meaningful because it goes straight to the point. It's atomic. It's easier to understand what I'm asking. Perhaps I will forget it, so I will lapse it and do more repetitions as a consequence. But for the average, if I have thousands, it will be a lot simpler. And if I have this shit that I do automatically, so 0 seconds, or I do copy and paste all of that, let's say 5, 10 seconds, yes, I haven't spent those 2 minutes. But with doing more repetitions, because I lapse those, especially if you use Anki, 10 minutes, 1 day, 3 days, 1 week, 1 day again, da 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 da. Doing those repetitions, let's say that you need 10 seconds to rep. It will be more if you read, by the way, but to simplify. At the end of the flashcard lifespan, you will have to spend more time. So prioritize for the long term, not the short term. Oh yeah, the time I will save today, I will have to pay it later, and with taxes applied. You will pay more overall.
Teacher gives you a PowerPoint where you just need to go play with this ability and have it, and it sucks. I prefer CHM format in which I can change the text size and maintain image quality.
The same can be done in Anki. In Supermemo. You can change the text, the color, the size, the font family. It will look ugly regardless. And now it supports CSS. I don't know this version at what extent, but let's assume it's the same. It's just the basics of the CSS. But I think I have a hunch that he doesn't know that. So he's using the default styling, which I agree is absolute crap. And about the images, when you copy and paste images, yes, it's hard coded that compresses the image. That was because back in the day, the storage was very scarce. So you wanted to reduce the file size. And it's still hard coded. So the only way you can prevent this compressing the image is by using the registry. So you go to the image registry, you add here manually. Oh, come on. And now you navigate and export the file. This will be lossless. Or the other way around, it's by here. You can press, I think it's Control Q, the same thing. And it's the same thing, but it will be directed to the component right away. And the other, it just goes with the registry. The advantage, this is one-on-one and gets linked automatically. The advantage of the registry is that you can add a lot more. It's not limited to one. You could add 10,000 if you want it. Okay, it's getting dark. It's almost 10 p.m. So the chroma key it's failing. Sorry about that.
Oh. And some people say, oh, well, the CHMs don't have good images. Well, I'll tell you now that some of them do. And it just depends on the image quality that they put in there. For example, here's Bates, HTM. This is their CHM, and you telling me that this is not a good image quality for viewing, and that your PDF is going to be better? No, it's not. It's not going to be better, and you're not going to be able to change the text size. This thing. Oop. Get back to you with that. Text like this. To me, I love reading text like this.
That's a good example. So images like this that have text and it's kind of small, this will be really hard to read in Supermemo because they will lose this quality. So if those are the cases, use the Control Q.
I don't know why people don't like.
And for this, you can just copy and paste, and yeah, you lose quality, but it's not as noticeable.
Like it, I do. These pictures are great because this is great. I mean, dude, let's cover that up. I can copy. And program. So you can and with.
And if our images like this, you could use Anki. It will be lossless, and you could use the image occlusion super quick to do, yes, but also nice to have, more feature proof. And now with the algorithm, it's good enough. You will still do more reps than in Supermemo, but not as many.
With see the text. Please tell me how this doesn't look good, and it still fits on my page. With the PDF, I'm opening it, I'm zooming in, and then half of the page is out of my view. I don't know why you would prefer that, but this is for doing. If you open up OneNote, and this is where I keep all my information, I can Control Z and zoom in, and it has a great. All right, hit me up. See y'all later.
Yeah. Sorry, I will put some with more light. Cool. So that's the video until here. It's a lot more interesting than I thought. This is, once again, it's telling me that, shoot, I should have seen this video before. So I misjudged that. Oh yeah, I just did a huge, like a quick overview. I had one idea in mind, and then turns out I was wrong. So good to see that it's like a medical school specific and stuff like this. That back in the day, not many people were doing videos about Supermemo, and not in this length. And yes, by the way, I'm subscribed, but with my personal account. Overview, that was 10, 10, 10, 11, 8. Hey, I know that person. Supermemo Assistant, released 2020, solved the problem of reading from PDFs. Yes, and you're required to use Supermemo 17, one of the latest releases, or 18. Do you know a good way to migrate decks from Anki to Supermemo? Yes, I did, and I have some videos about that. And also the other way around, from Supermemo to Anki as well. Are you still using either the prompt Those days, nice, 5 years ago. No, that was my thought. As soon as he did the exam, I'm pretty sure, as soon as he did the exam, passed the exam, he graduated, sayonara Supermemo. I think the information we need to have memorized, we will use enough to know, and the information we don't use enough to memorize, we can just look up. Okay. So this appeal to the frequency, yeah, the same assumption as many people, which is not actually true. This is overestimating your memory. Don't trust your memory. Okay, that was 5 years ago, so 6 years after the video was uploaded. Update to the new image occlusion 2. Something I don't know, I never used the old super memos. Sounds? No. It is poor design and functionality. And it boils my blood that still hasn't been fixed. They didn't bother to fix it. Yeah, even though he doesn't use any incremental routing at all. None, absolutely zero. No matter spending time for training and get used to it, what I really would like to do if after the phase of one can work with it. In a way, people are just used working with programs. But with Supermemo, one can work for years, and it will remain cumbersome because it's several implementation, and it's per se good idea. Some degree. Perhaps I'm biased, but what I did is that I always prioritized the pleasure. So, okay, it's a good feature, like linking concepts, all of that, but then it creates too much friction to use. And at the end of the day, I won't be able to meaningfully use the neural review. Okay, it's a price to pay. I'm not willing to pay this price, so. And what I focused is on reducing this friction. So this creates that, oh yeah, I don't want to spend time learning this, but creates friction. Okay, based on this friction, I will just tolerate that I have to apply the concept manually or the template manually every single time I create a new item. But yes, you didn't know that just investing some time, some hours, you will save this trouble. And just lowering your level of pain. Just about Supermemo 16. That was 9 years ago. So I think that he was using Supermemo 15. Easy to grasp. That depends. One thing is to grasp how it's implemented in Supermemo, which is a lot harder, and incremental reading is a lot easier. To understand it, to grasp it, to use it, and really get the incrementalism, this is the hard part. And some people will never do it. They will keep using Supermemo for many years, but still have no clue about incremental reading. Topic, item, child, element, Supermemo, generally, if you could do more videos. Yeah, I think he did some more videos, but not many. Supermemo is a brilliant program. Been using it for years to learn various subjects, or languages, to poker probabilities. If you have been fortunate enough to stumble upon it, I suggest to make use of it. Tip. Schedule your computer to start the program certain time of the day, so there's zero chance of forgetting to use it. What on earth is this tip? So you neglect that, oh shoot, I didn't did my Supermemo session because I forgot to start it. It's funny because this cannot happen to me. It should be the opposite. That, oh man, I need to close it down because I want to use Git and sync my collection. Because in my computer, my laptop, Supermemo, it's always open at all times. Why you should have Supermemo closed? It's borderline joke, but I'm borderline not joking. Oh, I have a quick note and up. Oh, I'm doing whatever in my browser. Oh, I want to import this. Boom, right away. I import and move on. I have it open at all times. And I do a lot of interleaving. I do some sessions that are long, 1 hour, half an hour, and I do a lot of sessions that are 5 minutes. Because I'm working, I do interleaving 5 minutes, and I go back to work. Because I work with the same computer. I think in terms of having the category applying to template, thanks for showing your wrestling through the insane complexity of Supermemo. Yeah, it's good to have this documented. Not many people did. Good to know more people did like me. It would have been awesome to watch this video while I was a noob. So happened to be that I was not primed at all with this review. Supermemo, it's awesome. Normally when you learn something, you don't need refresh the memory, then you will forget it. Thus, everybody's forgetting most of the stuff they want to learn all of the time. Yeah, the premise is this. So why people think that, yeah, if I will sit in my daily a job, if I work as a physician or surgeon, yeah, based on repetition of the everyday, it's enough. Well, for the common stuff, not so common stuff, but the rare conditions, rare diagnoses, you need artificial repetition for that. But since they forget this, they are not aware of how much they forget because they have forgotten about that. If you have Supermemo or any app, then you have proof. Hey, in one time in the past, you have known this fact, those 10,000 facts, and now you only remember 10% of that. You have forgotten 90% of this. You have proof, physical proof of your forgetting. If you don't create flashcards, you trust your memory. You are not aware of the forgetting that you do every day. And you are absolutely minimizing the effect of forgetting because you're not aware of it. Super common. It's very human to have this. Everyone will think the same. Is victim of forgetting. Even myself have thought that until I had the proof that, oh shit, how much have I forgotten? Last one. Supermemo is a very powerful program, but because of its poor user interface, it is better suited for the freak. Okay? Who wants to give a try to incremental reading? By the way, Terrance did not, at least in the video. Check his learning process with statistical diagrams and enjoys the feeling that he uses a special repetition algorithm. Hilarious comment from the worldwide Brain Club Yahoo group. Okay. I think this stigma holds true or even has increased. Because now, let's say that Anki, clones of Anki and other apps, a lot more simple than that, have popularized space repetition. Sometimes it's not even a space repetition, but they call it space repetition. Because you just review it when you want to. Where's the scheduling there? So more people are aware of, hey, that's space repetition. Then they check, oh, what? Let's say that's the hardcore space repetition. And they see, oh, wow, looks like a cult. Yeah. So that's all. It's a pity I started too late at the day, but I enjoyed this video. And that's proof that I had no clue. Hello. That's proof that I had no idea what to expect with this video. So good to know that what they had in mind is completely off. And it has been a lot more informative than expected. The best to get is just the crap of the chroma key. And now, yes, it's about my time. It's 10 p.m. And yeah, my dog is requesting a walk. So nothing more to add today. Hope this has been useful. Terrance will be nice to talk with you, even if you have moved on from Supermemo. And see you incrementally. See you incrementally. See you incrementally. See you incrementally, Lolo.